mom or dad is there to make right the things that go wrong creates a sense of security that stays with them as they grow. For older kids, there's a balance between being responsive and being over-responsive to their mishaps. For example, when children fall down, they often look to the parents to see how they should respond. When parents overreact to a skinned knee, the child will too. But when parents respond in a laid-back way, perhaps saying, "Oops, you fell. Looks like you're okay, right?" the child will likely respond in kind and perhaps skip the tears altogether. But for young babies, it's almost impossible to overparent. So, if you're inclined to keep your baby on your chest rather than in a carrier, go ahead. It will build a bond and sense of security between you and your baby for a long time to come. A related point is that each child develops at his or her own speed. So pushing your child to do new things before he or she is ready can actually be harmful. Pushing for independence too early can backfire, according to Klein. For example, parents can be quick to move a child out of a crib like when they turn 2. This takes away a known comfort from them. Cribs are small and enclosed that help children feel safe. This can lead to sleep battles, child not wanting to stay in bed, waking more at night, etc. So make sure that your child is ready for new activities and transitions. His or her response will let you know if they are. Be prepared to back off and wait a bit longer before trying again. 7. Punish or scold your child when she acts out, hits, or throw things. Expressing his or her anger by hitting or throwing things is a perfectly natural behavior for a child. It's a way for kids with their limited language and immature cognitive, mental abilities to express emotion. Punishing the child for these behaviors, though it may be tempting, is not the way to go, since it gives the impression that having the emotions in the first place is a bad thing. Klein suggests that rather than scolding a child for acting out, quotes, helping a child understand their negative emotion, anger, sadness, and in time learn to understand why they feel as they do, will help them develop competence socially and emotionally. So, emphasizing with the child rather than scolding them while setting a limit, "I understand you are angry, but I can't let you hit," bears better outcomes later than scolding and punishing the young child, end quote. Rather than shutting down a child's emotions, help your child see that you understand his frustration, and it's okay to feel that way, but there's a better way to express it. Number 8, try to be your child's friend rather than his parent. This is a common mistake that parents make, particularly as their kids get older. All parents want to be liked and loved by their kids, and to be thought of as cool is especially desirable to some parents, so it can be easy to slip into the friend role rather than the parent role. Dr. Sue Hubbard, pediatrician and host of the Kids Doctor radio show, says that it's critical to remain a parent, especially when it comes to setting boundaries about experimenting with substances. The rate of alcohol and drug use in teens is climbing, and Hubbard feels that part of that may be due to the fact that parents want to be their child's friend rather than parent. It is often easier to say yes than no, and parents seem to turn a blind eye at times to the use of alcohol and drugs, especially weed, in their own homes. The scary part of this, alcohol, is the leading cause of death among teenagers. While some parents may feel that the safest place to experiment with substances is in the home, being too permissive about alcohol or drug use can backfire, giving kids the idea that underage drinking is okay, as long as it's at home. You must set an example for responsible alcohol use, says Hubbard, and enforce the laws regarding underage drinking. Children watch their parents from very young ages, and they know what coming home drunk looks like. Overly permissive parenting can be a concern in other areas, not just the drug and alcohol realm. Finding your way between being an authority figure and being confident can be tricky, but it's an important balance to strike. Being authoritative, using your years and accumulated knowledge to explain to your children, is different from being an authoritarian or someone who says my way or the highway. It's not hard to guess which one has the most lasting beneficial effect on a teenager or young child. 9. Fill your cupboards with junk food and skip family meals. With our incredibly busy lives today, family meal times can become a casualty. When the kids are young, it's natural to have an early meal for them and one later for grown-ups. And with teens who tend to snack a lot and have after-school activities, it's easy for the evening meal to become an every man for himself event. More and more research shows that families who eat together are healthier, both physically and mentally. As Hubbard says, family mealtime has somehow become an enigma rather than the norm. How this has evolved is not clear, but numerous studies have shown that children who eat family meals have more academic success in school, have less attention and behavioral problems, have less drug and alcohol use, and definitely have better table manners. Families who eat together are also thinner and have reduced risk for eating disorders. So as much as it is possible, try to have sit-down meals together, talking about the good and bad points in your day and just being together. Don't stress over family meals, says Hubbard. You can buy pre-made food, add a few of your family's favorite ingredients, and enjoy it around the table. Pediatrician Jim Sears, co-host of the television show The Doctors, calls stocking the cabinets with junk food one of the most common mistakes we make. Depriving kids of nutritious food and making them overweight is a sure way to mess up kids. It all comes down to shopping habits, and turning these around can make a big difference when it comes to our kids' health. According to Sears, if you look at most pantries, you'll find cookies, chips, and soda, even though the people that stock those pantries will say they're trying to avoid junk. If it's sitting in the fridge, you will see it and you will eat it. Even worse, your kids will see it and grow up thinking that you're supposed to have junk food in stock all the time. I always encourage my families to change their thinking on how they shop. Having junk food around the house should be an exception, not the rule, Sears says. If you want to replace the junk food with healthier options, try doing it gradually. Your kids might rebel if you do it all at once. 10. Don't walk, drive everywhere. Though it's tempting to hop in the car to make a quick run to the grocery store, Sears' second piece of advice to families is to opt for activity whenever you can. By this, he says, I don't mean going to the gym 5 days a week. What I mean is that your family chooses being active whenever possible. You ride bikes or walk to school. You walk to the park, post office, coffee shop. You can walk a few blocks from your office to grab lunch and take the stairs. You might even think about getting a dog. People talk about a generic component to being overweight, but if a person is active, they can overcome any genetic predisposition they may have, Sears says. I think this shows that humans were designed to be moving most of the time, instead of sitting in a classroom or behind a desk. Sure, sitting may be a part of your job, but if you look for any excuse to move and to get your family moving, you will all be much healthier and have better job or school performance. Let your kids think that being active is normal. Your kids may moan and groan now when you tell them the movie is out, but a day hike with picnic is in. But these habits will stay with them in the years to come. Not only will they make your kids healthier as they age, research keeps coming in that suggests the more active we stay, the more we reduce our risk for obesity, heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, and even early death. But presumably they'll pass this healthy lifestyle down unto their children as well. 11. Think you bear sole responsibility or no responsibility for your child's development. We're all aware of the impact that our parenting has on our children, but sometimes it's easy to push that idea to the extreme and feel that everything you do will have a make or break impact on your child's success. If you can't get him into the best elementary school, what will become of his academic aspirations? If you don't find the perfect balance between discipline and easygoingness, how will this affect his development? Is the fact that he pushed a kid on the playground today because you let him see a violent cartoon? If your child has a great day in Little League, don't assume your coaching was the reason. Become a guilt-ridden and intense parent is one sure way to mess up your kids. Dr. Hans Steiner, professor emeritus of child psychiatry at Stanford University, cautions parents not to assume sole responsibility for their kids' or child's issues. There are many other factors in his life besides you, which will affect his personality and development. Genes, other family members, school, friends, and so on. So when things go wrong, don't beat yourself up, since it is very likely not you and you alone that led to the problem. On the flip side, says Steiner, don't assume that you have no role in your child's development. Some people may operate from the assumption that a child's successes and problems are mainly due to genes or the teachers at school rather than you. Both extremes are just that, extremes. Like so many aspects of parenting, there is a balance. You are important in your child's life, but you're not the only factor. 12. Assume there is one way to be a good parent. You're reading this to learn some parental disasters and tips. But as stated earlier, one size fits all parenting is unrealistic since children's personalities vary so greatly. Steiner advises parents to be aware of the goodness of fit between themselves and their children when it comes to personality and natural temperament. Psychologists have outlined 9 different temperament traits, some of which include attention span, mood, and activity level, which all combine to form 3 basic temperament types: easy/flexible, difficult/feisty, and cautious/slow to warm up. Needless to say, your child's temperament interacts with yours. Some parents and kids' temperaments work well together, but others are more of a work in progress. Your children's temperaments may be very different from your own, and you can't change either one. Just think about the fastidious mom with a sloppy kid, or the hard-driving dad with a laid-back child. It's up to you to be mindful of these differences and work around them. Once you're aware of the phenomenon, you can figure out new ways to interact with and respond to your child to minimize friction. One recent University of Washington study found that when parenting styles were more closely tailored to their children's needs, kids had significantly less depression and anxiety than kids whose parents were less tuned in to their child's personalities. You will also be able to construct schedules and activities that will be a better fit with his or her temperament. Being aware of the natural temperament and needs of your child is one of the necessary and wonderful parts of being a parent. There's a lot you can't change. So delight in the distinct little personality that he or she is and will grow into in the years to come. So on that note, quote for the day. Glad I could help y'all out with this 12 things to mess up your kid, because I don't know by now, I know y'all have seen at least 5 things that you need to stop doing with your kids. You know, and the things that I mentioned when the show just started. You know, we got to do something. We can't just sit around and think it's just going to fix itself. And some things we can't fix, but we need to determine what's fixable, that's under our control. And what's not, we need to just learn as we grow. So, I'm just going to get to quote for the day. It's getting late, and I know people probably got to work in the morning or things to do. And it's the weekend, so I won't hold you long. I just wanted to share that because I was really upset that my son got scolded today for messing with things that, you know, he's not supposed to be messing with. But at the same time, it's hard when you try to teach your child one way and they just do the opposite. And I didn't panic this time. I didn't get into it with the other family member. They had all the right in the world to feel the way they felt. And they had all the right to get on him about those things. But to some of us, it looks like we're a bad parent. Like we're really not tuning in. We're really not teaching them the right way to go. But it was just a simple case of you don't want to see your kid hurt. You don't want to see them frustrated. You don't want to see tears in their eyes. It just does something to your heart. I know. But I know today, if you ever learn anything, it makes people angry when you take things that don't belong to you. Don't do that. Because I had to think to myself, I said, I'd rather him get scolded for what he's done than to get a knock on the door. And he's under investigation for an armed robbery. Or he got 20 years to life because he couldn't keep his hands to himself. Or he got 15 years in a detention center because he took a candy bar out of the store. Ask. You don't have because you don't